it was really, really engaging to watch all of these videos and hear about all these amazing um, assets that we have for tourism in the region. Okay, shall we give it a couple of more seconds? If I think that here in the format of the group, you can actually activate your camera and we can engage in a discussion. What I will propose as a format is that I'll take you through just a few slides just to put us in the context and give us some key points around which to build the discussion. And I have prepared a few questions that I hope will help us structure some of the ideas that I'm sure this group has plenty of. So our task is to talk about product development and product innovation. Diana, do you know how I can share a screen, or you will run the slides?
I think I'm talking with Lina now. I think we are waiting for more people to join this breakout room.
Okay.
Let me talk. Hello everyone, I'm Diana. I'm from the Medusa team as well. Welcome all. Thank you for being today. Let me contact with the technical support because I think they have to make you or me co-host.
Yes, so that we can show some slides.
Yes, so let me contact them.
Okay,
because I think we don't have the roles yet. So 1 second.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, we are.
We have 21 participants, which is close to what we were expecting, no? Yeah, so I think that maybe if they give us the technical capabilities, maybe we should proceed.
Okay, I just reach out to both of them. Let's allow them a few minutes and we can start.
Okay, wonderful.
Sorry, I have a question. Do you have any link for this breakout room? Because I will have to change device like around 12, and we might be in the middle of this breakout room, and I should be in itinerary, so I should maybe try to set into the mobile phone.
I think when you access the call, you will automatically be transferred.
Yes.
That's my, but maybe after we activate this, maybe Diana can also check with Lina and just drop you a personal message to let you know.
Okay,
thank you. Michelle, don't worry. Once we have the slides fixed, I will find the link for you and put it on the chat, on the chat. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Wonderful.
You're welcome. Sorry. Okay. Okay, apparently they are having the same problems in the other breakout rooms and they are working on it.
Okay.
So one second.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about the weather to fill the time.
No sé, Milena, will you like to present yourself or do you want me to?
No, if I can, if my function, oh, here, I actually think that my the ability to share is now active.
Available.
Can you see?
Yes.
Can you see the slides? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's start then. As you all are aware, we will build our discussion here around product development and innovation. And clearly, with some of the challenges that our industry was tackling, can you still see?
No, it went.
No, but again, my sharing function has been disabled.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll continue speaking and then we'll share the slides. But the idea is that actually even before the crisis, our industry was hitting some challenges that were calling for rethinking and adjustment of the way that it operates, from the destination and institutional level, of course, down to the operator and the behavior of the individual traveler, if you will. The crisis probably reactivated this this need, or actually maybe magnified the need to really rethink and reinvent some of the ways in which we operate, and of course, respectively, the way that we deliver experiences and that we operate them. So in our case, I propose that in the context of the project that we're in and the specific situation that we are in, the recipe for developing or engaging in successful and effective product development and product innovation is to consider two key ingredients. The first one is relevance to the industry situation, to the societal realities in which we are found, because obviously the current context is quite unusual and quite different from anything that we've known or in the past. And the second thing, of course, is to keep in mind what is the sweet spot where we, with the assets, with the consumer expectations that we currently see, can offer the strongest competitiveness of us as individual companies, but also as destinations in the global marketplace. We all recognize that once tourism is reactivated, there's going to be really hot competition for these first travelers who embark on trips and journeys. In this situation, we are at sort of an advantage, because it's established that adventure travelers will be among the first ones who will be bold enough and who will feel confident in going back to their journeys. So when we consider the competitiveness aspect and also the relevance context, there's two aspects that we should focus on, and these are the demand aspect and the supply aspect. On one side, just as some of the discussions already indicated, and some of the research that has been done under the Medusa project indicates, we have 5 areas where there seems to be strongest potential for competitive offerings and experiences and products for the entire region. On the other side, we also need to be relevant and to be realistic about the marketplace dynamics that await us, to look at who is the consumer and how they have changed and will change as a result of the COVID-19 crisis that all of us are going through. There's 5 contrasts that I propose will shape the demand, the behavior of the post-COVID-19 traveler, and I want to quickly go through them, and we can discuss them after that in the discussion. The first contrast is that we're going to see a traveler who is really impatient and wanting to indulge back in traveler experience, but at the same time, they're still going to remain safety obsessed, because of the fear that all of us have been influenced by, because of the way that this pandemic has influenced all of us and our sense of safety. The second contrast that will shape or characterize the post-COVID-19 traveler will be the desire to spend, the readiness to spend, especially for the travelers who don't have, for those consumers who are not impacted by some specific job loss or other economic hardship. They will be ready to spend, but at the same time, all of us inevitably as consumers are influenced by the so-called recessionary mindset, because we know that this crisis is also triggering an economic crisis, and that inevitably has influence on the way that people look for value, on the way that they assess the value of offerings, regardless of whether their spending power has been impacted. So we as businesses and destinations need to be better equipped and more careful about how we outline the benefits and the value that we offer and how we communicate these. The third conflict that will be influencing traveler behavior will be the conflict between craving to be engaging in social interactions and to be in physical communication and interaction with people. And that will be in direct conflict with the fear from crowds, which will remain for the foreseeable future. So we're going to have a traveler who really wants to share, to experience with friends and close ones, but also a traveler who's going to be extremely cautious about interacting with bigger groups and engaging in interaction with people that they don't know. The fourth contrast will be the contrast between missing and desiring to be back in the real world and to escape this digital reality in which all of us are tired from. But at the same time, the expectation that there's going to be contactless solutions which will allow travelers to experience without actually being in physical contact with suppliers, with surfaces, and so on. So this expectation for contactless, technology facilitated solutions is going to be one of the key factors shaping the expectations of post-COVID-19 travelers. And the fifth very important contrast, especially in the context of the project where sustainability is such an important pillar, is this conflict between sharpened sustainability awareness, understanding that we as consumers and we as businesses need to move towards market exchanges where sustainability is non-negotiable. But also this is contrasting with the crisis fatigue that all of us are suffering from, which means that sustainability somehow needs to be part of the market exchange, but it needs to be part of the market exchange in a way that makes it easy and fun and natural to do, rather than imposed as a restriction, as a responsibility, and something that we associate with yet another crisis that we need to deal with. So to me, these are kind of five contrasts which will really shape the behavior of the traveler that all of us need to welcome with adjusted or new products after the crisis. I also extracted here the 10 indicators for sustainability that were identified by the analysis that have been done as part of the preparatory work under the project, so that we can keep them in mind. And I'll quickly go through them. These relate to so in essence, these suggest that to make sure that our product development and innovation thinking is in line with sustainability principles, that we need to think about managing seasonality and offsetting peak seasons and seasonal peaks, that we need to be considerate of community benefits and how tourism experiences actually can magnify the benefits for the local economy and local residents. we need to be mindful of how tourism can support or be vehicle for conservation and active promotion of cultural heritage. And of course, this is also a way to ensure authenticity and signature characteristics of the experiences. We need to be conscious of how, and luckily in adventure travel, this is actually quite possible, how we can enable experiences through investment in low impact infrastructure solutions rather than significant heavy duty infrastructure, to incorporate sustainable and green building, green design solutions. How can we design or offer, deliver experiences that have minimal impact, undesired impact on the environment? Of course, a big aspect of making local tourism offerings sustainable, but also linked to economic benefits and to low carbon footprint, is using local gastronomy and relying to a large extent on local produce and local ingredients, something that the Mediterranean is really at advantage of because of the wealth of culinary assets that you can find throughout the entire region. Of course, again, looking at protecting environment and biodiversity, and of course, soft impact and footprint also means finding low impact mobility solutions, and of course, engaging businesses in sustainable resource management. So if we think about the supply and demand aspects that we saw on the first slide, and then the sustainability principles that already are outlined as leading here for the project, I wanted to start the conversation by asking you to think about the supply strengths and the consumer in the context of the consumer trends in the for the entire region. So in other words, the specific question that I want to start with is, what are the product development efforts in which you feel in the current context tourism businesses in the region should invest their time and resources? So do we have a volunteer who would like to kickstart the discussion? Let's see. Anyone? Some ideas given the current crisis and what we expect will happen after that in terms of expectations from travelers, and what we know is already the region is quite strong with. What do you think where should a local business be investing their efforts now in order to prepare for the post-COVID marketplace? Mohammed, please.
So one of the things that I saw through the videos is that the approach towards adventure tourism differs from one country to another, and also maybe the definition. But personally, I think adventure tourism and sustainability have to go hand in hand. And part of that, it's not just about sustainable buildings and decreasing the carbon footprint that tourists can need, but also I think it has to include a component of protecting nature and biodiversity. And I think what Corona has told us is that the natural world has the resilience that would enable it to recover. So I think any activities that take into account both sustainability and biodiversity need to be encouraged, and also as a proof to local communities that protecting nature is something that they could benefit from. So this would include things like hiking, bird watching, all activities that would empower local communities and also benefit nature. So this is my humble opinion.
Okay, thank you. Your note that adventure travel can vary is actually probably an advantage, because on one side, it would be unfair to try to fit into a narrow definition of adventure travel, given that the region really has such a fantastic wealth of assets that could be taken in different direction. And second, it also suggests that there could be a richness of the offerings that could meet different expectations. Yeah,
I agree with you regarding that, and I think yes, that's important. But at least I think what's required is maybe a set of guidelines that needs to be agreed upon. Diversity is excellent, but maybe things like respecting local cultures, like respecting biodiversity, ensuring that the experience is authentic. So maybe this is what needs to be agreed upon, not the experience itself.
I understand. Okay, could we have some comments? Maybe comments on this or your own input as to what makes sense for local businesses to invest in their time and resources so that they can prepare their offerings for the post-COVID realities?
I think Par has.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you.
I think one of the key things that is very concrete is that the local, like restaurants and hotels, offer separate spaces, like that they really potentiate, like the terraces and makes, if you travel with a group, for example, I work with the hiking and biking groups. If they come with a group, we want the terrace to be as big as possible. We want
Of course,
to be able to have the group to, we put two tables together, and then on every change of hotels, etc. It's something very simple, but I think it's something that has to be done before we can start accepting the groups again.
Right. So maybe we can frame this as smarter and expanded use of outdoor space as venue for different activities, but also kind of key components such as food service or leisure time and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great suggestion. Any other comments or ideas?
I think we can also maybe use some digitalization, some kind of
Yes.
apps to connect young people, control the number of people that is in a certain area, for example, with the 5G or geolocation, things like that. Could be other interesting.
Absolutely. So this is very much in line with this point that I mentioned earlier when I was outlining some of the traveler expectations, that relates to the fact that the crisis has actually catalyzed comfort with technology solutions, and it also has increased the expectation that there will be digitalization of a lot of the contact-intensive services or touch points in the journey that were part of the experience before. So luckily, the crisis has also inspired a lot of fast developments in that domain. So there's actually a number of solutions that companies can incorporate in order to optimize this aspect. Anything from digital ticketing, queuing, digital menus, digital delivery of options, check-in, check-out, and all sorts of things like that, which eliminate the need for contact through technology solutions. So great point.
I have one more
Sure.
a question related to this. Do you all think it will be like bus companies, hotels, restaurants will start promoting themselves as fully vaccinated? Like they say, if you come to this hotel, everyone here, everyone working in this hotel is vaccinated, and that
you know, the idea for using vaccination as a shield against future complications around this or other pandemics is very much active, and it has different aspects. I'm already starting to see that companies are discussing the introduction of a requirement for employees. I'm talking about larger companies, tourism companies that involve interaction with larger groups of people. And there's already talk about making vaccination a condition for hiring. And that's a path towards exactly what you're suggesting, that there's going to be resorts or bus companies or cruise companies that are going to seek to use that as a marketing tool. And it's normal because, as I mentioned earlier, the fear imprint triggered by this crisis will stay longer on human level, even if we really are eager to travel and go back to living a normal life. Fear is something that dissolves, that takes longer to dissolve. So it will be a consideration that needs to be kept by businesses in the tourism industry. Okay, so far we've talked about the breadth of experiences that can fall into the adventure space. We've also talked about the fact that we need to adjust our products in order to make smarter and better and more active use of outdoor spaces. And we also talked about technology as a way of adjusting or preparing for post-COVID realities. What else? Some other areas in which you feel it makes sense for a local business in this region to be preparing for post-COVID realities? Okay, as we're thinking, and obviously this is not I'm not moving to a different subject. I just want us to keep discussing. So as we're thinking about more areas in which we can be spending our time in, I wanted to suggest or to kind of build on something that you mentioned earlier, and that was food and the fact that the incorporation of culinary offerings or relying on more local culinary offerings is actually an approach that activates several or hits several important aspects of preparations. First, as it was mentioned, it's one of the ways in which we can make the tourism industry in the region more sustainable. It's also one of the key advantages of the region because of the rich culinary traditions and assets. This is something that is a strong competitive advantage of the region, and it needs to be developed and highlighted. But also one of the things that we know is that after this economically exhausting crisis, tourism needs to be revived in a way that actually is as profitable and as economically energizing as possible. And the more we can rely on local produce, on local services, on local products, on local service providers, the more of the money that our travelers will pay will stay in the local economy. And this will be really crucially important both for each individual business, but also the local and regional tourism economies, which really badly need some fresh revenue flowing and staying so that they can go back to being vibrant industry ecosystems. So this to me is one of the areas that absolutely needs to be focused on and prioritized. I think it's a way for each individual business to actually be creative and make adjustments to their current offerings and experiences, but it's also a fantastic way for the groups of of companies to actually work better together and make sure that they take a bigger share of the traveler spending and keep it locally. So this is one thing that I definitely wanted to highlight as my contribution. What I wanted to ask you is, given that we're talking about different uses of space and new ways of diversifying adventure offerings and incorporating more technology and food, what support do you think businesses will need in order to make that happen? Now, we know that economically the industry is really exhausted, so that's we can't expect businesses right now to make huge investments simply because of the hardship that they have been going through and continue to go through. But is it only economic resources? Is there the need for training or advisory support, or maybe creative idea generation? Or what do you think are the areas in which you feel local businesses can benefit in order to incorporate these changes and be more prepared for the post-crisis market? Some ideas? I don't see
I
any
can
hand.
say something if you
Fantastic. Thank you, Mohammed.
want. Thank you. So the thing is, when it comes to adventure tourism, service providers aren't that advanced in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the current situation is and will continue to be an excellent opportunity to build the capacity of
Okay.
service providers on several levels.
Mm-hmm.
I think a homestay, for an example, on a hiking path, there's so much you could do to build their capacity to prepare them for the post-COVID era. This could include the way they make food, the way they serve their guests,
Mm-hmm.
their knowledge of flora and fauna in the region. So I think because the capital investment for these businesses isn't that great, what matters more is the experience they provide
Mm-hmm.
to the visitors and things. So I think this advisory service is
Mm.
extremely important, and
Okay.
you might need a little bit of financial support just to uh, uh, upscale the level of service they are providing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. So more capacity and enabling support. Okay. Some other ideas or suggestions? What would be some ways in which local businesses could and should be supported in order to apply some of these changes that we are identifying as needed?
I
Par?
can say, yep. I think for like I live in the Pyrenees in the Catalonia region, and when we work by the coast, like in Barcelona, they are used to international travelers. But I would say most of the restaurants, etc., we and hotels we use here, they are lacking several things that are important to deal with a more international. Like many restaurants here don't have the menus in more languages. They only have it in Catalan, maybe in Spanish, and so I think it could be a time for the local governments to help educate like the non-coastal, coastal destinations, to say so, because what we will see for sure is the spread of the tourism out to less populated areas.
Yes.
But these areas are not prepared they're not prepared with English. They're not prepared with many traditional Catalan restaurants, for example. They don't have terraces. You sit in a dark cave and it's 30 degrees and sun outside, and nobody wants that, no. So I think it could be I guess it's the same for all of the region, maybe to push, to modernize the view of the traveler.
Yeah. You, in addition to the main thing that you said here, I want to highlight that you also mentioned another tactic that relates to the direction, to one of the directions that product development and innovation needs to take place, and that's diversification by spreading tourism and kind of using more territories to expand the geographic spread of tourism experiences that are offered. So that's also a great point in terms of both creative design and adjusting offerings, but also, as you say, the fact that these new places and new service providers will need support in making sure that they can deliver the service at the level at which tourists will expect. So this is a two aspect point that is truly important. Okay. Other areas in which you see, Mohammed? Yes.
I could add something. I think maybe one of the very important areas that local service providers need to upgrade in is online and digital marketing of their products and services. Because the nature of the adventure tourism traveler is not conventional, they go and look for information online. So those service providers need to bring their service up there.
Yeah.
And then also maybe things that have to do with business planning, accounting, simple things that
business planning
help them maybe sustain the business.
Yes. Great point. In fact, this one of the trends that we are starting to emerge to see emerging as a result of the pandemic is also the fact that travelers want to or expect to be able to also rely on solutions that allow them to do a little bit of self-guided experiences, even if not the entire trips, which also is one of the things that we're seeing as a change. But even if certain components, again, technology can provide or close the gap in some areas, because it can be providing, as you say, it can be providing the marketing and the communications content, but it also can be offering some of the services or the self-navigation service where language, for example, could be a barrier. So while we also work with the local service providers to prepare them with maybe some language and other skills, technology can actually support and still help them reach the benefits of these tourism offerings, but cover the areas where we might have deficiencies right now. So that's a great point. Okay. I want to bring in another aspect that is obviously important, both in terms of where the industry is going, but also as a pillar of the project, of the current project, and that's sustainability. So my question to you is, how can we make sustainability a non-negotiable element of the tourism offering? And what that means is, the more classical approach is to keep operating as we are, and then to try to promote and educate the traveler to actually pursue the more sustainable options. But the alternative to that is actually to take some of the control away from the traveler and put it on the local industry, and actually make sustainability part of the design so that it's non-negotiable, and the traveler cannot make a decision that's irresponsible towards our nature, towards our culture, towards our food, culinary assets, and so on. What do you think about that kind of thinking? Could sustainability be actually part of the offering, and could it be part of the design um, of local experiences?
If I might, Milena,
Yes, of
no,
course, yeah.
I think it has to go both ways, no? Educating and how important it is to go clean the beach, or if you see trash in a trail, pick it up